What's going on, everybody? This is Brandon Taft with the Real Estate Pro Team here in San Diego. Today I wanted to explain a couple fundamental differences between today's housing market versus the housing market we had in 2008. So the first fundamental difference to understand in today's market versus 2008 is the foreclosure rate. So you can see in 2008 that foreclosures absolutely skyrocketed. Today, even though home prices are high, foreclosures are at a low point. The reason they spiked so much in 2008 is because banks were lending money a lot different than they do today. So a ton of people were on variable rate interest loans, and it was fine when the rates were low and they could afford their mortgage. But the problem was rates spiked, and then all of a sudden people couldn't afford their mortgage anymore. Today, most people are on fixed rate mortgages, so higher interest rates isn't really affecting them the same as they did in 2008. So this takes me to my next point when you're talking about mortgage rates. So like I mentioned before, in 2008, when rates spiked, people were on these variable rate interest loans and they couldn't afford their payments anymore. Well, as a result of that, the Fed lowered rates for a very long period of time. And the problem is in the last 10 to 15 years, buyers have bought at these low rates where, it's 4% or lower. And now that rates are higher, people are used to these lower rates. And they're not necessarily willing to sell like they were in 2008 because they're on fixed rate mortgages to where they could afford them. So the interest rate spike didn't affect homeowners the same way as it did back in 2008. The next thing I want to talk about is the amount of listings that are on the market. So you can see going into 2008, there were just way more homes for sale. Today, we're at an all-time low with homes that are for sale because, like I mentioned before, homes going for sale, people need to be desperate to sell. A lot of people out there aren't that desperate to sell. So there's a lack of inventory. It's been going up recently, but if you look at historical levels, it's still extremely low. So when you think about supply and demand, if there's a low supply of anything, it's going to make prices stay higher. So even though we've had a real estate crash in terms of, the least amount of homes sold in over 30 years, prices haven't dropped because we still have an inventory problem. So what's this all mean? My honest opinion, I think it's very irrelevant. So unless you're sitting there and flipping homes that are very short term with things, buying when you can actually afford a home makes the most sense. You can't time the market. None of us could control the market. There's thousands of factors at play. And history has shown us that real estate appreciates over time. I put a 1-year moving average on it, and the only time the 1-year moving average has went down is the Great Depression in 2008. And even in these two horrible events, real estate prices came right back up and ripped over to make all-time highs. So it doesn't become easier to buy over time. It becomes harder. So, when it financially makes sense for you and when you could actually pull it off, that's really the best time to buy. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, share it with a friend, ask me any questions, and you have a good day.